So welcome back for another episode and edition of Cherished Moments, where we are talking about grace and motherhood and how grace shows up in motherhood. I'm just here having a good laugh with my friend Candace Rogers. How are you, Candace?
Good, how are you?
Good. So Candace, she is the founder of Believing for My Baby. She's a working mom. And because she is a mom, she gets to sit in this seat right here. Candace, will you tell me a little bit about your family? Introduce us.
Yes. So, like Rosina mentioned, my name is Candace. I am a mother of two. My stepson, he's definitely my son. My stepson is 18, junior in high school. My daughter, Tiara, she's 7. My husband and I believed for her for 10 years. But yeah, she is 7 years old, and I have an amazing husband of almost 18 years.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So we're going to tap into all of that, right? So tell me, when you became a bonus mom, you know, we grew up knowing it as stepmom, but all these new words, you know, bonus mom. What did that journey look like, and how did grace kick in for you to be that and be that well? Because I know when I met you, I didn't know. I'm like, what? I'm like, you're his stepmom? And I mean, I did not know it because that distance just was not there. So can you tell me about that journey and what grace looks like to make that happen?
Sure. And I'm glad that you started that way because that was definitely intentional. I wasn't trying to keep it a secret that EJ was my stepson, but the main thing for me was making sure that when we were out with others that he didn't feel a sense of disconnect from us or me, or even when he was with his mom that there was no disconnect. And that story began, my husband and I married really young.
Okay.
I was 20, he was 21, so we didn't even know ourselves at that point. A few weeks after we decided to get married, my husband got a paternity test that said that he was the father. It was crushing, not because that it was his son, but you know, the plans that we had, it adjusted. And once we, you know, Eric being the person that he is, he said, you know what, I need to take some time, think about it. Do you want to stay here or do you want to go? I don't hold you to this. This is my responsibility. So after praying and waiting, I didn't know much about it, but I just felt like I needed time. I decided to stay and in a relationship, and I started to walk into the shoes of becoming a bonus mom or a stepmom. The only example I had at that time was my own mom. My mom was more of a bonus mom and a foster mom. She just always had kids other than her own, in addition to her own in her home. So I kind of mirrored that until I knew better myself or knew what type of bonus mom I wanted to be. And it just became wanted to be a supplement, wanted to be a benefit on top of all the love that EJ was getting. Just wanted to be that extra cushion, that extra love for him. And so the relationship began to kind of grow from there. We went through a difficult process of getting custody of him. There was a situation, which I won't get into all of the details, but not every step-parent relationship is the way you see it today. Today, you know, families go on vacation together. I wanted that, but unfortunately that was not the case for us. So after going through so many different battles, I was in support of my husband getting custody of EJ. After going through the process, we got custody of him, and that began the reality of, oh, I'm a full-time mom. Before I was like the cool stepmom. You know, we had fun, we went places, but now I went from 0 to 60.
You in this thing.
Yeah, I went from 0 to 60, and I started to walk into these shoes of what I thought, but I really didn't fully understand it because I didn't birth him. I just only knew what my mom gave me, what I seen other moms give, and to be honest, encountering moms like yourself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just making that.
But you know, Rosina and I met. Our children are the same age or close in age, and in the same grade. And when I put EJ in school, I knew I didn't know a lot about being a mom, so I just stayed around other moms. And you were one of the moms that I was around and was able to grow and learn from, things to look out for, things to pray for, And that was kind of the track of my step parent relationship. It sounds so weird saying step parent because we don't use that term at all. I left even with EJ calling me mom. He actually calls me mommy, but he never called me Miss Candace. And it was his decision.
Wow.
And that's what I love because
that speaks volumes.
Yeah, I didn't want to force it on him. I've been a child that has been a stepchild before, and I understand what it is when someone pushes that on you. It's not sincere.
Right.
The relationship doesn't match the relationship.
Right.
The name doesn't match the relationship, and so I wanted that to be genuine for him.
Nice.
So, we have that rapport now. He's an 18-year-old young man. So, we have a different kind of relationship today. We joke a lot. I talk to him about his relationships and about the next stage and phase of his life. And it's crazy because even in being a stepmom, I still experience anxieties when he would leave. Even when I became a full-time mom when he was 6, whenever he would leave for the weekend to go to his mom's house, I felt a disconnect.
Yeah.
And I realized later in years it was because I did pray for him, because I do genuinely love him, and I spent that time and I experienced those disconnects. So that was a very unique relationship and time and phase of my life. Being a stepmom.
I want to ask a question.
Yeah.
So for those who are watching, you can tell that Candace comes from a very genuine place and wanting to approach her role as a bonus mom.
Absolutely.
But like any kind of relationship, you hit bumps. You hit snags and even barriers at times.
Absolutely.
So how did God get you through that? Is there work He had to do in your heart to be able to not react to the external factors of your bonus momhood?
So there was, I'm human. So, in the bonus mom relationship that we have, that also includes EJ's biological mom, right? So there was opposition with us. I don't know where it stemmed from, but there was opposition in that, and I had to learn how to work through that relationship, but also work in the relationship with my son. And the way that I really dealt with it was I prioritized what was important to EJ.
That's good.
It was important for EJ to have a safe place. It was important for him to see us be cordial, communicate for him. Because as a child, he doesn't understand adult matters. And it was just important for him to know if he had a field trip, we would show up. If he had an event, we would be there. If he was interested in something, we were there. And so honestly, just prayer and support was the number 2 things in prioritizing his childhood, making sure that he was able to experience a healthy childhood.
I love that. And EJ is a great young man. I've had the pleasure of watching him grow up, and we've had our conversations.
Yeah.
We've keyed about both of our kids and what they're doing and where they're at, and what station of life they are in. And they'll both be walking somebody's stage soon, graduating.
Oh my gosh.
Right, and they started out in kindergarten together, so it's amazing to see where they've come from, and we just believe God that nothing but greatness is ahead for where they're going.
Absolutely.
So we're going to shift gears a little bit. So you mentioned that you have 2 children.
I do.
And so we know Tiara is your promise baby, not a rainbow baby.
No,
that's not the term for that. So my apologies for So tell us about your journey to become a birth mother. Not taking away from anything that you've already experienced as a mom, but was there a deeper longing for that, for you to have that experience?
Yes, it was. With Tierra, it was a unique situation. I went through several years of infertility. So my husband and I we were married 10 years before we were pregnant with Tierra. But we were trying all the different ways, and then we ended up having to seek medical assistance with that. But with Tierra, she is what I would consider my promised baby.
Your promised baby. Okay.
A rainbow baby is more so of a miscarriage and then having a baby.
Okay.
But she was more so my promised baby, and promised baby, I love that you use that term because she truly was a promise from God. I literally had a shift in my relationship with God with believing for her because I had to step out of everything that I knew the way I thought my life would be, the way I thought my marriage would be, the way I thought EJ would grow up with siblings. The picture that I had to anchor myself in the Word of God and His promises in order to receive that blessing, so that when that day did come that we got a positive result on the pregnancy test, it was just an overwhelming gain of emotions. It was just so many emotions between my husband and I because we actually became much stronger together as a result of that. But with Tierra, there were things that I had to put in place to, lose weight. But the most important part was the spiritual aspect.
Can you explain that for me?
Yeah, so the spiritual aspect of it, I knew what the promises were. So I had scriptures written in my workplace. I had scriptures written around my desk. Even I went as far as changing my password to believing for my baby, so that every time I typed it, because I had to type my password several times a day, so that every time I typed my password, I was forced to remember that I was believing for her. Before that, whenever I was believing for something, I kind of shied away from it. I didn't talk about it. I just believed it in my heart. But this I had to say out of my mouth.
Yeah.
This I had to confess every day to force myself to believe it. And so even through my husband and I, we had to go through for fertility treatments. In each doctor's appointment, we were praying. Each doctor's appointment, we talked about what we believed God for, what the life would look like. And so when that day came, it was, just think about something you wanted for Christmas for years, and you finally get it. The feeling that you had, just believing that,
Probably times 10.
Yeah. Oh yeah, times 10 for sure.
Yeah.
Eric won't tell you that he cried, but he cried.
Well, we have seen Eric, get choked up before, but I think in that sort of situation, I think he owned his tears. I think he will definitely own his tears for that. But what would you say to a mom who is starting that journey and is experiencing frustration, is experiencing just maybe some of the negative emotions you may have felt? Maybe if there was a moment where you thought it would be easier just not to believe God for this, like I could just really put this to the side. If there was anything along those lines, would you look in the camera and just encourage, someone?
So I'm already tearing up because you just forced me to remember a moment I had. I'm going to say that, but I'm going to start with this story. After I had Tierra, I was walking around the house one day and I had her in my arms and I was like singing and praying over her. And I wasn't even thinking about myself. I started thinking about all the women who are believing, who have believed, and just knowing that everything I went through and that I ended up receiving my blessing on the other end of it. And in that moment in my heart, I just prayed for those women who were still believing. So what I would say to those women who are believing is, I had so many weights in my life that I was holding on to. I bear the weight of, being a product of a teenage parent, kind of being a parent to my brothers, trying to fix things in my family, trying to fix things about myself. And just trying to do all that manual work that really was reserved for God to fix. And when it was just such the freedom of letting that go that allowed God to come in and work on my heart. And, you know, Eric and I talk about it often. We realized what it was the weight was kind of, you know, our bodies are, they respond even to our emotions, even to, you know, what actions that we respond to our emotions in our body, and the emotion of holding on, of clenching on, and always stressing, and dealing with so much stress over a long period of time was not allowing room for a child to come in and, you know, sit in my womb and stay there. I pray for anyone who's experienced the loss of a child, which that's another story that we have to get to. But in that instance, that was one of the things that hindered me. So I said, let go of the weights. Let go of the weights. Have someone that you're accountable to. Be accountable to yourself. Love yourself.